pace. And I thought, well, that's strange. They always close the libraries at night time. They don't want students studying away at night time. And I thought, well, maybe it's Thomas Bodley, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because many people have seen him, usually his faint outline, sometimes holding a lantern, wandering up and down inside the corridors of his old library, or the library of his old college library, where he left his books. So perhaps he's just checking up on his books. And one thing you do notice when you see him is that he appears to be very short. He appears to be dwarf-like, and there's a simple explanation for this. He's only seen from the knees up because they extended the library a few years ago. A few years ago it was actually. The entire two floors now have been taken over by the library, and they rose the floor level by about 2 feet. So Bodley is simply walking on the original floor level of the library, 2 feet below the current floor level. So that's where you only see him from the knees up. So if you do spot him, if you ever come here, perhaps at night, I think ghosts are more visible at night because they're not sort of. They're more faint, so you're more likely to see them, I think, at night, and certainly he's seen more, at night more than during the day, Thomas Bodley. But if you have time, particularly tomorrow when they're open all day, well, from 10 until 4, you can get inside the library, and it's well worth a visit, as is the entire college for that matter. Right, well, let's set a place in Oxford actually, and there are two very good reasons why it's called Dead Man's Walk. First of all, it was the Jewish funeral procession route. Oxford did have a large Jewish population up until they were all expelled from Britain in the 14th century by Edward III. Oxford had a significant Jewish population, but they were forced to live and be buried and really basically stay outside the old city, outside the walls. The Jewish ghetto was roughly where Christ Church College is, on the southern side of Oxford. The Jewish burial place is the Botanical Gardens, which are at the other end of the lane here. And whenever a member of the Jewish community died, again they had to stay outside the city walls, and they were brought along Dead Man's Walk here to be buried. So that's one good reason why it's called Dead Man's Walk. The other good reason why it's called Dead Man's Walk is, how are you? Is because during the English Civil War, men were shot here. Deserters, enemy soldiers, anybody that didn't talk, anybody who needed to be shot was brought here to the southern wall of the city and were executed. And I don't know how many men, but there's one particular man that haunts this lane. And in fact, we have many eyewitness reports. So in fact, the gatekeeper here at Merton College has seen him on numerous occasions. He told me just recently. And we know it well. We're fairly sure it's Colonel Francis Windibank, the highest ranking officer to be shot here, who haunts Dead Man's Walk. Why was he shot? Well, his job was to guard Bletchington Manor, which is north of Oxford. That is the most vulnerable side of the city. The River Thames goes south and west of Oxford. The River Cherwell goes east of Oxford. So whenever you're going to attack Oxford, you would attack from the north without having to cross a river. And in fact, Oxford was attacked twice during the English Civil War. And so Bletchington Manor north of Oxford was strategically very important, and it was Colonel Windibank's job to guard it. Apparently months went by without anything happening, so the colonel thought, well, let's have a ball, you know, let's boost morale, and we'll have a ball, we'll invite the ladies, and we'll have a jolly good time. Well, I think Cromwell got a bit of inside information, because that was the night he chose to attack, on the night of the ball. The colonel, with women present, did not want any bloodshed, so he offered his life to Cromwell and said, spare the women, you know, you've got me, you've got the house. Well, Cromwell, perhaps recognising the actions of a gentleman, said, no, you and your women folk are free to go. I'm happy, I've got a base to attack Oxford. So the colonel was returned to Oxford, tried to explain to the king what happened. The king was absolutely furious. The house had been given up without any fight. He was court-martialed, and 2 hours later he too was brought here and shot by firing squad. And that's why we're almost certain that it's his ghost that haunts Dead Man's Walk, because it's a man dressed in an officer's uniform who haunts this lane, and he was the highest ranking officer to be shot here. So if you want to get really spooked in Oxford, you can come in here at night time. They will close the gates at 9, but they don't mind people being in here after 9 o'clock. You can climb over, particularly the gates by Rose Lane at the other side of the meadows is very climbable. And it's a great place to wander at noon anyway. So if you really want to freak yourself out, this is the place to walk, okay? But not now, because we want to go, I don't want to get